welcome to Partner Perspective. I'm Gina Vera-Lopez, Partnership Director at Partnerize, and I'm here to support the growth of our strategic partners in the APAC region. I'm excited to be joined today by two great guests from Linkby, Pete, Head of Partnerships Australia, and Connor, Partnerships and Growth Manager. In today's sessions, we'll talk about what makes Linkby unique, share best practice, and explore how brands can grow their content presence and achieve strong results. And now I pass over to you guys to begin with the presentation.
Perfect. Thanks, Gina. Thanks for the lovely intro. Yeah, excited to be running everyone through how Linkby was formed and the value that we're able to offer as a platform here for not only Australia coverage from a content perspective, but from a global standpoint as well. So we come, if you go to the next slide, Connor, we come from a publishing background where all of us are rooted in publishing. We've got a lot of experience in that standpoint. Chris in the middle there, our CEO, he founded a company you might be familiar with or very familiar with, Pedestrian TV, about 20 years ago, which went on to become the biggest youth-focused publisher here in Australia. And whilst leading that business, was really aware that there were a number of gaps of the ways in which brands could connect with publishers in this really efficient way that worked for both brands and publishers. So that's essentially how Linkby was born. And in a nutshell, we are this red button that brands can have on their desk that gives access to over 400 of the biggest commerce partners in the world, and in return get premium editorial coverage, with the kicker being that you only pay for clicks back to your site with full measurability and scalability. So really is an all-in-one content solution. And the great thing about the platform is that you're in control of all the parameters on the campaign, including the CPCs, the timings, and importantly, well, most importantly, the publishers that you're really keen to work with. All the budgets that we work towards are capped. So no matter the size of the brand that you are, there's some fantastic potential for coverage across up to 400 commerce partners across the world. So if we go on to the next slide, from a global standpoint, the really great thing here is how many markets that we're in. So we were founded here in Australia. At the click of a button, brands can have their content or their campaigns live across the US, the UK, Singapore, Canada, and most recently, we've just launched into France. So when brands log on to the screen, there's a little flag in the top right-hand corner. And if you change that into one of the other markets, the publishers and the currency will change over. And you're then able to pitch out to those commerce partners across those other markets as well.
Fantastic. One of the most powerful parts, I think, about working with Linkby is the scale and quality of our publisher network. So we are working with the furthest reaching, most respected commerce partners in each market across the world. These are the most premium environments for your brand to be communicated in. And these are some of the publishers that are actively looking for commerce-aligned content that resonates with their readers. And then through Linkby, your brand has the opportunity to appear within that trusted editorial context. So here is just an idea of the scale and quality of our publisher network that Linkby gives brands access to. But what really brings that network to life is seeing the brands that trust us to deliver results across it. So we work with over 2,000 brands globally. Some are really recognizable names here. But what's important to understand is that Linkby isn't just built for the giants. We're equally effective for brands that are growing, launching into new markets, or trying to build visibility with specific publisher environments that align to their audiences. Because of how flexible CPC is as a model, brands are able to test different angles, try new publishers, and quickly see what works without the overhead of a traditional media buy. It gives both emerging and established brands a really good opportunity to make a real impact, whether that's through top of funnel awareness or performance-focused traffic driving. Essentially, whether you're a household name or a brand with strong momentum looking for a growth point, Linkby helps you show up where your customers are already reading. And you can do it in a way that's measurable, scalable, and on your own terms. And here you can get a feel for the kinds of content brands can achieve through Linkby, and more importantly, how it looks and feels inside each publisher's unique environment. So how it works is once the brief is submitted through a campaign in your platform, the publisher takes that brief and turns it into a piece of content they know will resonate with their audience. It's shaped by their tone, their editorial style, and their understanding of what drives performance on their site. And as you can see here from the examples, really we're perfect for any scenario, from product reviews and sale announcements to cultural tie-ins or kind of seasonal trends. In every single case though, it's standalone. So premium editorial coverage that builds hype, drives consideration, and ultimately helps convert readers into customers.
Just on that Frank Green example that you can see in the middle there. So they had a new colorway of products that they wanted to take out to market very recently. They pitched to about 7 or 8 different publishers, had budget to work with 5 or 6 of those, and were able to get 5 pieces of premium content. This is what it looked like across broadsheet, using the imagery that they supplied from their brief, but spoken to broadsheet's audience in a way that's really going to cut through and engage, knowing what their tone of voice is and how their audiences love to be spoken to. What we want to do now is show you an example of the platform in action. So I'm sure a lot of you will be familiar with the brand Modibody, fantastic Australian brand that have built up across many markets over the last 5 or 6 years. And we've worked really closely with that brand to help them secure coverage across multiple markets. And that's what we want to take you through here. So on the left-hand side, you can see some very basic briefing details. And this is all the information that we really need to get a campaign up and running. So a few key things to call out would be what the headline is. What's that kind of thought-starting headline that you're keen for the publisher to go away and create a piece of content around? How are we going to encapsulate that brief in the best possible way? And how can we really drive a strong call to action from that headline as well? In terms of the publishers that they pitched to, you'll see that they pitched out to 17 different publishers on this particular campaign. They had budget to work with 10 of those, and I'll show you what the brief eventuated in from a content perspective shortly. In the description section on the left-hand side, this is how they've encapsulated their brief through 4 or 5 key paragraphs. So it doesn't need to be an amazing press release when it goes into the platform, just summarizing the brief. Who's the brand? What's the category challenge? How does that product come in and satisfy that category challenge? Is there a particular promotion or an offer that you're out there running at that given time? So this one brief that was submitted by Modibody delivered this from a content perspective across 3 different markets. So 10 pieces of premium editorial, all across the publishers that they'd chosen. So the specific publishers that they wanted to work with. And you'll see from the content, it's slightly different depending on which publishers have jumped in and accepted. So BuzzFeed and Red at the top there, they felt that the best way to engage their audience would be through a first-person review. So we facilitated Modibody sending through their product to their editorial teams to go away and do just that. Pedestrian in the middle, their audience were very familiar with Modibody by this point, so they did more of a call to, a PSA, simply explaining that Modibody now had period proof running shorts and tights, which in their words was a huge vibe. So one brief, quite a few different directions of content, but all honing back in on that particular brand and product. And this one had some fantastic ROI for the brand as well, and kept them coming back. And I think we've facilitated anywhere from 100 to 150 pieces of content for that brand over the last 4 or 5 years now.
Awesome. Thanks, Pete. Just want to quickly take you through one of the exciting features of Linkby at the moment that a lot of brands, especially the time poor ones, are pretty keen on. So publisher pitches, which we internally like to call sit back PR. The idea is really simple, but quite powerful. So instead of always being the one to go to publishers with opportunities, this flips the process and lets the publishers come to you. And they can now send editorial opportunities, whether it be a dedicated feature, a listicle inclusion, or a newsletter placement directly to your dashboard. You'll get a quick overview of the proposition, what the CPC and budget allocation might be, and from there you can choose to accept it, decline it, or even counter offer if you'd like to adjust the details. Really, really useful during peak retail periods, so your Black Fridays, Click Frenzies, and end of financial years, where a lot of these publishers are actively curating content and looking to fill themed placements with relevant brands that they know are going to drive clicks. And for the time poor teams, it means you're not always having to submit new briefs or chase exposure. You can just sit back and review opportunities as they come through. And here are some examples of where you can see Linkby really bringing to life the range of content opportunities available for brands. You'll see examples of coverage tied to celebrity angles, key retail moments like Black Friday, and evergreen content that can continue to drive traffic well beyond a campaign window. The value here is that brands don't need to chase down publishers one by one. Linkby gives you access to the right types of content with the right publishers based on what you're trying to promote. So it could be building hype, converting sales, or boosting visibility. There is a format and audience to match almost any objective.
I think just on these 6 examples here as well is how the publishers have, again, taken the campaign that was submitted by the brand and felt what's the perfect angle here that's going to engage and drive as much resonance as possible with their particular audience. The rollers piece is a great example of this, where product was sent over to the news editorial team, and it's actually like 5 or 6 of their editors ended up trying these different collection of jeans. The content is really detailed. And this one, from an engagement perspective, it drove about 4,000 clicks over a week period. So it shows that when the publishers have got the opportunity to create the content that they know is going to work well for their audience, they can do a fantastic job in doing that as well. And the brand was stoked with the results there. Cool. Wanted to jump in and run through a few different use cases and reasons why Linkby could be a nice addition to what you're doing from a CPA perspective, as well as from a PR standpoint if you are working with PR teams, just to ensure the best possible coverage and do it in a way that's measurable, scalable, and gives you the audiences that you want for your brand. So as Connor's touched on a couple of times already, the type of coverage is feature-length editorial. The publishers will take that brief and go and craft what they think is that best piece of or best way to resonate with that particular audience. The timeframes are really quick. So it's not uncommon for publishers to turn content around within 24 to 48 hours. And typically it's around a week to 10 days before content goes live. So we don't need to work months in advance in order to get the coverage across these titles that we want. From a promotional standpoint as well, the way in which the publishers will amplify the content is heightened through the CPC model. So they won't just post the content live and hope for the best. There's a chance that they'll do social posts. They might include the campaign in any newsletters that they've got going out. So pulling all the levers that they've got possible to drive a strong engagement as possible on a campaign. From a listicle standpoint as well, I know there's lots of opportunity to be included in high SEO ranking listicle content. Through the CPC offering, the potential to get your brand placed nice and high up within those listicle placements. The publishers are incentivized to do that, to drive as many clicks for you as possible and hopefully go through and convert those customers. And the Partnerize tracking, we haven't spoken about that. We will on the next slide, but the opportunity to really use Partnerize's tracking to ensure true performance, to know exactly which publishers are moving the needle for your brand. And I'll come on to in a second how we can integrate that across all of your campaigns. And the capped budget side of things is super important. We want to make sure that you're really comfortable with all the coverage that you're achieving. There's a ceiling there that publisher is working towards, but the really important thing is that if you're getting good performance on your campaign, which we see over and over again on a weekly basis, you've got the opportunity to add more budget to that campaign at any given time. And the publisher will continue to promote and amplify that story as far and wide as you want. So the scalability side of things is super important as well. So the publishers, as we know, they're heavily incentivized to amplify their campaigns. The measurability side of things, we want to make sure that the outcomes are as strong as possible for you. A lot of brands we work with will test and learn certain publishers and find their groove. And it's going to give you that opportunity to lock in coverage when you need it. If you've got a new launch that comes across your desk on a Monday, there's potential that we can get you coverage by Friday that week. So really speedy coverage when you need it, and hitting those core quality audiences that we know you want. Cool. So I've referenced to the Partnerize tracking at this stage. So it's a really important one for us that when we are running campaigns with Partnerize brands, that we have everything set up. And the way in which we do this is through a 0% CPA between ourselves and the brand through the Partnerize platform. So once we've got that set up, we can integrate your account for Partnerize tracking and ensure that every campaign that is put through the platform is going to be fully tracked through Partnerize. And what that's going to allow you to do is have all your content, whether that be through CPA or whether that be on the CPC side of things with us, measured in one place. And it's going to give you the opportunity to scale content because you're going to be able to see how well it's performing. So we have brands over and over that are assessing performance really closely. And when a campaign's performing to a really strong level, they're constantly, like I said before, adding more budget to that campaign because they know that they're getting really good results. And from a low touch perspective, like the workflow is super simple. As Connor mentioned, You put your brief through, you choose your CPCs, your timings, and your publishers, and you let those publishers go away and work their magic for your brand. And from an approvals perspective, they will go away, create that content for you. And if there was anything that we need to get tweaked slightly from a factual perspective, let us know and we can do just that. And wrapping up with the publisher pitches side of things, the opportunity for those publishers now to pitch directly to your brand is huge. We're seeing great uptake on this from publishers and brands. And that sit back PR notion is really coming into full effect that Connor explained.
Perfect. To wrap this all up, I think it's important to bring back why brands choose Linkby to work with these publishers, especially for those already operating in kind of affiliate ecosystems like Partnerize. As we've talked about earlier, we help bridge the gap between traditional editorial exposure and then the performance-driven outcomes that obviously everyone's after. And we do this by letting you tell your brand story in a really trusted publisher environment, but with the kind of trackability and accountability you're used to from affiliate platforms. When you launch a campaign on Linkby, you're not just getting that exposure, as Pete touched on, you're getting that measurable content performance with full attribution via your affiliate tracking setup. So whether you're driving traffic, building brand credibility, or testing new angles, all of it can tracked and optimized in the same way you already manage your affiliate efforts. And it goes a bit deeper than that because you're getting the authentic publisher written content that aligns with your brand story, access to new channels outside of those increasingly saturated Meta and Google spaces, and the ability to run those scalable campaigns that appear across multiple publishers in one go, all while maintaining that control over spend, timing, and tracking. We're essentially giving brands a way to show up natively and credibly, but with the performance mindset and infrastructure that they're already used to. So if you're already running through Partnerize, Linkby is a natural extension of that, one that helps you gain new customers in a more content-led, contextually powerful way.